because this was one of the trees that we stood up for and tried to save, and we will not be able to save it. It's going to be removed on Monday. And so right now, Seattle's removing a little less than 300 trees per month. And many of those, about half, are for construction, healthy trees removed for construction under Seattle's new tree law, which is actually, for developers, it's extremely lenient. It's stricter for homeowners, but if there's a development application, a lot can pretty much be cleared. And this tree really struck a lot of people, particularly Scott, because we did a little digging on this tree, and we found out that this whole section of the block was heavily forested in 1936, which that's the easiest map to look at. When you look at aerial maps for King County, you can pull up 1936 for anywhere in Seattle and see what it looked like from the air. And this was all clearly still forested. And this tree in back, so I'm talking about the big Doug Fir in the back, which is really has perfect shape and is very, very healthy. It has a diameter of 50 inches, over 4 feet. That's much larger than most Doug Firs within the city of Seattle. Most Doug Firs in the city are around 30-ish inches in diameter because they are second growth trees, right? Seattle was cleared when most of the houses were built. But a few trees made it through, so when you find a really big Doug Fir, big native tree, it often means that it was here before the humans, white people came. So anyway, we believe that this tree is extremely old and that it was saved throughout the development of the new homes. And now we will unfortunately be losing this tree. So we've done quite a bit of work to try to save it, and the person who's done that work is Scott. He's a neighbor down the street, and I thought you would want to talk a little bit about that. So I'm going to sterilize this because I have a... Yeah, exactly.
All right, always love talking in front of a microphone, which I do every day, like I'm sure you guys do too. Anyway, again, my name is Scott. I live blocks from here. I walk around here all the time. Some of you I know from the neighborhood, some through Sandy and the various gatherings. So this one, obviously hits, close to, I was gonna say close to home, but as you can see here and there, and then there's gonna be the same developer has another house 3 doors down that's gonna be demolished. The same thing will happen. But this kind of started with the neighbor that I know here on the corner, and you can see her beautiful sequoia and her redwood and all the cedars. And at first, our first thought was we need to make sure that they don't damage and destroy her trees, right? So that's something I really took home in this particular experience. Is it's not just the trees that are being removed, right? There's all these, we got 2 adjacent trees, our lovely friend here, 2 adjacent trees on her lot over here too. Well, they're right there, sorry, I keep pointing that way, they're right there, that we also had to make sure that we protect too. So this is obviously much larger than just the trees that are being removed, which is also tragic. This thing's over 140 feet tall. We know that because we took some drone photos. So, like Sandy said, it takes a long time for fir or other tree to grow that tall. So, I guess I'll try to quickly speak to what some of you probably seen in the flyers, and maybe you got the email announcement too. What's partly unique. Well, that's not unique. In some ways this is unique, in some ways this is just the same story over and over again, right? So there's gonna be a single family unit in the front and then a duplex in the back, so 3 units total. The duplex, at first, with their early design, they were going to save the tree. And what it appears is that they decided to provide double the required number of parking spaces. So they went from, what was it, 2 to 4, 3 to 4. And that seems to have pushed their footprint out where they decided, and of course the city just goes along with this, to remove the tree. Even though we showed them a design, and Tree Action's done this before, where they would, with a slight modification of the location of that duplex, 6 feet one way, 2 foot another, they could save that tree. And there's zero interest, of course. And the city at this point, they have all the permits. The construction's going to happen. The removal almost certainly will happen. So this is all approved, and brought to you and enabled by the city. What else do we want to say about this particular situation? Am I missing something? I think, for me, and I think others can speak to this better, this is sort of just a textbook case of every failure that is part of the so-called tree ordinance, the land use codes, the zoning, just on and on and on. Everything is stacked in favor of the developers and the builders. And this might be a slightly controversial position, but for me, I've had to really kind of restrain. We get upset, we get mad, we get sad, and it's easy to hate on the developers and builders and stuff. They're doing what they do, right? They are going to push the laws, the codes. They do what they do, and I try to remember that this, like I said, this is city leadership. This is a failure on the city's part. And so I think that's going to be my little segue here to, well, number one, asking you, most of you, I'm preaching to the choir. Most of you are already involved with following these issues, looking at Tree Action's website, trying to find opportunities to move the needle here, which we desperately need to do. And if you aren't already doing that, I just can't encourage you enough to do that, because really that's the only way, like I say, we are going to move the needle and stop the hemorrhaging before, especially in this neighborhood where we have a relatively greater tree canopy. It's just all gone little by little. So anyway, I should probably stop there. I could go on and on. I mean, again, this one hurts. They all hurt, but when you see an opportunity where just we could have done it differently, it super hurts. So I'll stop there. I don't know, again, I'll stop there. I so appreciate all of you. This is so huge to come together like this as a community. And it just, even if we feel like it's not coming out the way that we want, we are here together to celebrate